The orbital defense platforms fell silent one by one as Admiral Park watched from the bridge of the colony ship Memoria. Earth burned below, its blue oceans turning black as the Surtari bombardment continued. She clutched the command rail until her knuckles whitened, feeling the cold metal bite into her palms. Final evacuation shuttles docked. Admiral, reported Lieutenant Kim, his voice cracking with exhaustion. We have 9,843 souls aboard. Park nodded grimly. 5 ships, just 5 ships had managed to escape Earth's destruction, carrying the remnants of humanity, barely 50,000 people. The weight of their species' future pressed down on her shoulders like a physical burden. Prepare for dimensional jump, she ordered, her voice steady despite the horror unfolding on the view screens. Set course for the sickness quadrant. As the Memoria's engines hummed to life, Park made a silent vow. Humanity would survive. Humanity would remember. And one day, humanity would return. The ship shuddered as it tore through space-time, leaving behind the smoldering remains of their homeworld. 3 days earlier, the Surtari ships had appeared without warning. Massive black vessels that blocked out the sun as they positioned themselves in Earth's orbit. Humanity's leaders had attempted communication, but the aliens responded only with weapons fire. Admiral Park had been overseeing a routine training exercise with the colonial fleet when the attack began. Her 5 ships were meant to practice long-distance travel with civilian passengers. Now they carried the last humans in existence. In the quiet of her quarters, Park reviewed the passenger manifests. Scientists, engineers, doctors, farmers, a cross-section of humanity, selected by pure chance rather than design. She wondered if it would be enough. "Admiral, we need you on the bridge," came Officer Nam's voice through the intercom. "The passengers are getting restless." When Park arrived, she found Lieutenant Kim trying to calm a group of civilians who had forced their way onto the command deck. "My family was still on Earth," shouted a man with wild eyes. "You left them to die." Park stepped forward. "We saved everyone we could," she said firmly. "Every shuttle was filled beyond capacity. Every ship is carrying more people than it was designed for." The man lunged forward, but security personnel restrained him. Park did not step back. "Your anger is justified," she told him and the others. "But it must be directed at the Surtari, not at each other. We are all that remains of humanity. We must stay united." Later that night, Dr. Ba, the ship's chief medical officer, brought Park troubling news. "The civilian population is showing signs of extreme trauma," he said. "Many are catatonic. Others are experiencing violent outbursts. We don't have enough mental health professionals on board to treat them all." Park sighed. "What do you suggest?" "We need to give them purpose," they replied. "Something to live for beyond mere survival." The next morning, Park called a meeting of the senior officers from all 5 ships through holographic communication. "Humanity needs more than survival," she told them. "We need a reason to continue. I propose we adopt what I'm calling the Remembrance Doctrine. We will preserve everything we can about Earth, its cultures, languages, and history, and we will prepare to reclaim our home, even if it takes generations." Captain Ryu of the starship Phoenix frowned. "You're suggesting revenge as a motivating force." "I'm suggesting justice," Park corrected, "and a promise to our descendants that Earth will not be forgotten or abandoned." After much debate, all 5 ship captains agreed to the doctrine. Each ship would preserve different aspects of human culture and knowledge, while maintaining the common goal of eventual return. As the Memoria continued its journey through dimensional space, Park worked with the ship's engineers to convert cargo bays into living quarters. Families were assigned shared spaces, while single passengers were grouped by profession to encourage collaboration. 2 weeks into their journey, the ship's sensors detected an anomaly. "Something's following us through dimensional space," reported Officer Nam. "It's matching our course corrections exactly." Park ordered immediate evasive maneuvers. The Memoria dropped back into normal space near an uncharted star system. "Prepare defensive systems," she commanded. all civilians to shelter areas. The dimensional rift opened behind them, but instead of a Centauri warship, a small Earth transport vessel emerged. "This is Transport EV-309, requesting emergency docking," came a desperate voice over the communication system. "We have survivors from Luna Base. Please respond." After careful verification to ensure it wasn't a Centauri trap, Park authorized the docking. The transport carried 38 scientists who had been stationed on Earth's moon when the attack began. They had witnessed Earth's destruction from lunar orbit before escaping. "The Centauri weren't just bombing," explained Dr. Min, the lead scientist. "They were harvesting, taking samples of Earth's biosphere before destroying it." This information changed everything. Park realized the Centauri attack wasn't random. It was calculated. They wanted something from Earth. As the Memoria approached the star system they had selected as a temporary refuge, Park gathered the ship's senior staff. "We need to establish a permanent settlement as quickly as possible," she said. "But we must also begin gathering intelligence on the Centauri. If they attacked Earth for a specific purpose, they might attack other worlds too." The colony ship entered orbit around a rocky planet with a thin but breathable atmosphere. It wasn't Earth, but it would serve as humanity's temporary home. As the first shuttles prepared to descend to the surface, Park stood before the assembled colonists. "Today we begin a new chapter for humanity," she said, "but this is not our final destination. We carry Earth within us, in our memories, in our DNA, in our determination. And I make this vow to you all. Whether it takes decades or centuries, humanity will return to the stars. We will grow strong again. And one day, we will reclaim what was taken from us." The crowd's response was not cheers, but resolute silence. A shared understanding passed between them. A commitment that would shape human culture for the next 3,000 years. 1,000 years had passed since humanity fled Earth. Memoria, once a barren rock at the edge of an unknown star system, had transformed into humanity's fortress. The planet's harsh environment had shaped its people. They grew taller and stronger in the heavy gravity. Their eyes adapted to see better under the dim red sun. Generation after generation, humans changed to survive on this world, while never forgetting their true home. Admiral Lee walked slowly along the parade grounds of the Reclamation Academy. 5,000 cadets stood in perfect formation before him. The morning light glinted off their ceremonial armor. Each uniform bore the emblem of Earth, a blue and green sphere that none of them had ever seen except in historical archives. "Today you join the greatest mission in human history," Lee said, his voice carrying across the silent grounds. "For 1,000 years, we have prepared. For 1,000 years, we have remembered." The cadets' faces showed no emotion, but Lee could feel their intensity. These young officers had trained since childhood for one purpose: to reclaim Earth from the Centauri. The vengeance doctrine was not just a military policy, it was the cornerstone of their civilization. Captain Han moved through the ranks, her experienced eyes evaluating each cadet. Her own family had served in the fleet for 7 generations. Her ancestors had helped design the first warships built on Memoria. Now those early vessels seemed primitive compared to the massive battle cruisers orbiting the planet. "Cadet Q, your tactical scores are impressive," she said, stopping before a young woman with the characteristic height of Memoria-born humans. At nearly 2 meters tall, Q stood a head above what Earth humans had once considered average. "Thank you, Captain," Q replied, her eyes fixed forward. "My only wish is to serve the return." Han nodded and moved on. These young officers represented the culmination of centuries of genetic selection, advanced training, and technological development. The first generation of survivors had sworn that their descendants would one day return to avenge Earth. Each subsequent generation had built upon that promise. After the ceremony, Han joined Admiral Lee in the command center buried deep beneath Memoria's surface. The room hummed with activity as officers monitored the training exercises in orbit. Massive holographic displays showed the positions of humanity's fleet, over 300 warships and thousands of support vessels. The simulation results are unprecedented, Han reported, displaying the data on a private screen. This graduating class achieved a 97% success rate against our most difficult Surtari battle scenarios. Their neural integration with ship systems exceeds all previous records. Lee studied the numbers and their psychological profiles. Stable, dedicated, perhaps too dedicated. Han hesitated. Some show concerning levels of hatred toward the Surtari. Understandable, Lee replied. The vengeance doctrine has been the foundation of our society for a millennium. Yes, but blind hatred can cloud judgment. This generation may finally be the one to fulfill the promise of return. If so, they need to be more than warriors. They need to be wise. Lee nodded. Then let us hope they are also wise enough to know what to do when that day comes. The next morning, Cadet Q and 50 other top graduates received special assignments to the Advanced Prototype Vessel Returner. The ship represented the pinnacle of human engineering, a quantum-drive battlecruiser capable of firepower that would have seemed like magic to the original Earth refugees. This ship will lead the vanguard when we finally locate the Surtari homeworld, explained Commander Sung, the vessel's captain. Your training will be more intense than anything you've experienced before. Q felt a surge of pride. Her family had told stories of Earth for generations, tales passed down from her ancestor who had been just a child during the evacuation. Those stories had fueled her determination through the brutal training at the academy. During her first night aboard the returner, Q stood in the ship's observation dome, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, the home her people had lost. Somewhere out there were the Surtari, the enemy who had taken it from them. Couldn't sleep either, asked a voice behind her. Q turned to see another cadet, Min, from her tactical training group. I was thinking about Earth, she admitted. Min nodded. We all do. My family kept a sample of soil passed down since the Exodus. Just a few grains in a sealed container. I've never seen it. It's too precious to open. But knowing it exists makes Earth feel real. My family preserved music, Q said. Songs from Earth that we still sing. Their conversation was interrupted by an alert. All cadets were summoned to the bridge for an emergency briefing. Admiral Lee's hologram stood in the command center when they arrived. His expression was grave. Our deep space probes have detected something, he announced. A Surtari outpost at the edge of the Cygnus Arm. This is the first confirmed Surtari location we found in over 300 years. The room fell silent. For centuries, humanity had built its military and prepared for vengeance, but the Surtari had remained elusive. Ghosts from the past. The returner will lead a reconnaissance mission, Lee continued. You will observe only. Do not engage. We need information more than combat at this stage. For Q and the other cadets, this mission changed everything. The enemy was no longer an abstract concept from history lessons. They were real, and human eyes would look upon them for the first time in centuries. 2 days later, as the returner prepared to depart, Captain Han approached Q. Your instructors believe you have exceptional potential, Han said. But potential must be guided by wisdom. She handed Q a small data crystal. This contains the original Admiral Park's personal logs from the Exodus. Few have read these unfiltered thoughts. They might provide perspective as you face the enemy of our ancestors. Q accepted the crystal with reverence. I will honor her memory. Honor her wisdom as well, Han replied. Remember that vengeance is not the end goal. The survival of humanity is. As the returner broke orbit and began its journey to the Surtari outpost, Q reviewed Park's logs in her quarters. The raw emotion of those early days, the grief, the determination, but also the hope for a future beyond mere revenge, gave her a new perspective on the mission ahead. The ship entered dimensional space, carrying the hopes and dreams of 1,000 years of preparation. The journey to find the Surtari had begun. The promise of return was finally in motion. 2,500 years after Earth's fall, Humans had become something their ancestors might not recognize. Their warships now numbered in the thousands. Their technology had advanced beyond what old Earth scientists could have imagined. The Reclamation Fleet, representing the unified military might of humanity, pushed deeper into unexplored space with each passing year, following traces and rumors of Surteri activity. Admiral Choi stood on the bridge of the flagship Vengeance, staring at the unknown vessel on the view screen. Unlike the harsh, angular ships of the Surteri, this craft pulsed with soft light that shifted through blues and greens. "They're requesting communication, Admiral," reported Lieutenant Su, her fingers hovering over the control panel. "The translation matrix is struggling with their language, but it appears they're not hostile." Choi nodded. "Open a channel. All weapons remain locked, but do not target." The view screen flickered, revealing a strange being. Its body was vaguely humanoid, but composed of translucent tissue through which bioluminescent light flowed in complex patterns. Tendrils extended from what might be considered its head, each one glowing with shifting colors. "I am Envoy back of the Novel Collective," the alien said, its words processed through the translation system. "We have been observing your fleet's movements for some time. You search for the Surteri." This wasn't a question. Choi straightened, her expression carefully neutral. "I am Admiral Choi of the Human Reclamation Fleet. What do you know of the Surteri?" The alien's tendrils pulsed with deep blue light. "We know them as destroyers, as you do." Within hours, Choi had invited the Novel representative aboard the Vengeance. Security teams stood ready, though the alien showed no signs of aggression. In the fleet's conference chamber, Back's bioluminescent body cast eerie patterns on the walls. "Our homeworld was beautiful once," Back explained, tendrils rippling with blue light that the humans now understood signified sorrow. "The Surteri came 300 of your years ago. They harvested our biosphere, extracted our minerals, and left the planet unable to support life." Choi leaned forward. "This matches what they did to Earth." "They left nothing," said Back, his tendrils pulsing more intensely, "just as they did to your world." "How many other species have suffered at their hands?" Choi asked. "Dozens that we know of," Back replied. "The Surteri consume worlds and move on, but they have grown lazy, complacent. Their technology advances slowly now." This revelation excited Choi. For generations, humans had feared that the Surteri might have become even more powerful over the millennia. To learn they had grown complacent offered new hope. "The Novel are not warriors," Back continued, "but we have become excellent spies. We have infiltrated Surteri space. We have gathered intelligence, and we know of others who would join a fight against them." Captain Dam, Choi's chief security officer, spoke up. "Why would you share this information with us? What do you want in return?" Back's body flashed with yellow light. "Amusement, according to the updated translation matrix. We want what you want. Justice. Retribution. A future where the Surteri cannot destroy more worlds." Over the next month, representatives from 6 other species arrived at the human fleet's position. Each had their own story of Surteri destruction. The Krell, silicon-based beings whose rocky homeworld had been mined to its core. The Ta, gaseous entities forced to flee their atmospheric planet when the Surteri harvested its rare gases. The Vindari, insectoid creatures whose colony worlds had been systematically destroyed. "We have all developed in isolation, believing ourselves to be the only victims," explained the Krell ambassador, her crystalline form reflecting the conference room lights. "Only the Novel, with their ability to blend their appearance with other species, discovered the pattern." Within a year, the coalition of survivors was formed, 8 species united by shared tragedy and common purpose. The Human Reclamation Fleet, the largest and most advanced military force in the coalition, formed the backbone of their combined strength. Each species contributed its unique abilities and knowledge. The Novel provided intelligence operatives who could change their bioluminescence patterns to mimic Surteri lighting systems. The Vindari offered swift scout ships that could navigate asteroid fields with unmatched precision. The Ta could infiltrate Surteri life support systems. The Coalition became a formidable force, bound by their common enemy. Commander Song led the Combined Intelligence Division, coordinating information from all Coalition species. She worked closely with Novel operatives who risked their lives to infiltrate Surteri installations. After 6 months of careful operations, she requested an urgent meeting with Admiral Choi and the Coalition leadership. The secure briefing room was filled with representatives from all 8 species. Song's face showed the strain of weeks without proper rest. "We've located their homeworld," she reported, displaying a star chart on the large holographic projector. "It's in a system with 3 habitable planets, all heavily populated by Surteri. Their central government appears to be based here." She pointed to the second planet. The Coalition leaders murmured with excitement. After thousands of years, the primary target had been identified. "But there's more," Song continued. She hesitated, glancing at Admiral Choi before adjusting the display. "We found something else." She paused, her expression grave. "Earth. They've terraformed it for their own use." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The holographic display showed a familiar blue planet, Earth, but with strange geometric structures covering large portions of its surface. Choi gripped the edge of the table, her knuckles white. "Confirm this information. 3 separate intelligence sources have verified it," Song replied. "The Surteri didn't just attack Earth. They claimed it. They transformed it into one of their colony worlds." For the human officers in the room, this news hit with physical force. For 25 centuries, humanity had preserved the memory of Earth. Their culture, their military, their entire society had been built around the promise to one day reclaim their lost homeworld. They had imagined it destroyed, perhaps uninhabitable. But to learn the Surteri had taken it for themselves, this was different. "Earth should have been just another conquered world to them," said Captain Dam. "Why would they keep it? Why terraform it for their own use?" Back's tendrils flickered with purple light, their signal for uncertainty. "Perhaps something about your world was special to them. Our intelligence suggests they have maintained several research facilities there for millennia." Admiral Choi stood, her decision made. "This changes our strategy. Earth is no longer just a symbol, it's a target. The primary target." The Vindari representative, a large insectoid being, clicked its mandibles. "Your emotional attachment to this world may cloud strategic judgment. The Surteri homeworld remains the logical primary objective." "Not just emotional attachment," Choi countered. "If the Surteri have maintained research facilities on Earth for over 2,000 years, they must consider it valuable. It may contain weaknesses we can exploit." After hours of debate, the Coalition agreed on a new strategy. They would strike simultaneously at both Earth and the Surteri homeworld, dividing the enemy's forces and maximizing the element of surprise. As the meeting ended, Choi remained behind, staring at the holographic image of Earth, altered but still recognizable. 2,500 years, she whispered to herself. "We're finally coming home." The Coalition fleet emerged from dimensional space at the edge of the Sol system, humanity's first return to their birth system in nearly 3 millennia. 500 warships, representing 8 different species, appeared simultaneously at predetermined coordinates. Their hulls still glowed with the residual energy of dimensional travel as they formed a protective sphere around the command vessels. Captain Yoon stood on the observation deck of the destroyer Reckoning, staring at the distant yellow star that was Earth's sun. Unlike most officers who had known only Memoria's red dwarf, Yoon had always been fascinated by the accounts of Earth's brilliant daylight. In the ship's artificial lighting, he traced the outline of Sol with his finger against the viewport. "I never thought it would look so ordinary," he said softly. Commander Todd joined him at the viewport. The old record said it was special, that its light had the perfect spectrum for human eyes. "We'll see it properly soon," Yoon replied. From the surface, the ship's communication system activated, captain to bridge. Immediate. When Yoon arrived on the bridge, the tactical displays showed movement throughout the system. Red markers indicated Surturi vessels responding to the Coalition's arrival. "Surturi patrols detected," announced Lieutenant Gill, the tactical officer. "They've spotted us." Yoon's hand moved to the ancient earth soil pendant around his neck. Actual soil preserved since the Exodus, passed down through generations of his family. The small glass vial contained less than a teaspoon of dirt, but it connected him directly to humanity's lost homeworld. "How many ships?" he asked calmly. 20 defense vessels moving from Mars orbit, larger fleet forming near Jupiter. Estimated response time to our position, 18 minutes. Yoon nodded. Exactly as intelligence predicted. They'd grown complacent. He opened a communication channel to the entire Coalition fleet. "All ships, Battle Formation Alpha. Phase 1 begins now. Remember your training. Remember why we're here." He paused, then added, "Begin the reclamation." The Coalition fleet split into 3 battle groups. The largest, led by Admiral Choi aboard the flagship Vengeance, headed directly for Earth. The second group, commanded by Novel Admiral Tech, moved toward Mars where the Surturi maintained their primary shipyards. The third group, led by Gundari Commander Skik, positioned themselves to intercept the incoming Surturi defense fleet. Yoon's destroyer joined the Earth assault group. As they accelerated toward the inner system, Yoon studied the real-time images of Earth growing larger on the main view screen. From this distance, it looked just like the historical records, a blue marble swirled with white clouds and green landmasses. Only as they drew closer did the differences become apparent. Massive geometric structures covered large portions of the surface, strange angular buildings that extended high into the atmosphere. The continent's shapes remained recognizable from ancient maps, but their colors were wrong, too bright, too artificial. "Magnify Grid Sector 3, Yoon ordered. The screen zoomed in on what had once been Eastern Asia, where there had once been mountains and forests. Now stood massive pyramidal structures. Between them stretched fields of strange purple vegetation. "They've completely terraformed it," Commander Ta said quietly. "Nothing human remains." Yoon gripped the command rail. "The land remains. The oceans remain. That's enough to start with." The first Surturi defense ships appeared ahead of them. Sleek black vessels that absorbed light rather than reflecting it. For generations, humans had trained against simulations of these ships, perfecting strategies to counter their known capabilities. "Enemy vessels locking weapons," reported Lieutenant Gill. "Activate countermeasures," Yoon ordered. "All ships, execute pattern sunflare." The Coalition warships suddenly released thousands of small drones that emitted intense electromagnetic pulses. The Surturi defense systems, unchanged for centuries, were overwhelmed by the unfamiliar attack pattern. Before they could adapt, the Coalition's main weapons fired in perfect coordination. The Coalition's first strikes were devastating. The Surturi, secure in centuries of dominance, had never faced an adversary prepared specifically to fight them. 3 enemy ships exploded in quick succession, their black hulls fragmenting into space debris. "They're calling for reinforcements," reported the communications officer. "Detecting signals to Earth-based defenses." "We expected this," Yoon replied. "Deploy Phase 2 countermeasures." Throughout the Coalition fleet, specialized ships activated jamming systems designed by the gaseous Ta. The technology created a unique disruption field that blocked Surturi communications, a capability developed after centuries studying captured Surturi equipment. On the tactical display, Yoon watched as the battle unfolded across the solar system. The Vindari interceptors engaged the main Surturi fleet near Jupiter with surprising success. The insectoid pilots maneuvered with incredible precision, their smaller ships running circles around the larger Surturi vessels. Near Mars, the Novel Strike Force was already landing troops on the shipyards. Their bioluminescent bodies could mimic Surturi lighting patterns, allowing them to infiltrate security systems with minimal detection. "Earth defense grid activating," warned Lieutenant Gill. "Orbital weapons platforms powering up." Launch EMP warheads, Hume commanded. Target the platforms before they can lock weapons. The Reckoning shuddered as it launched its payload. Dozens of specially designed missiles streaked toward Earth's orbit, detonating in carefully planned sequences. The electromagnetic pulses temporarily disabled the defense grid, creating a window of opportunity. All ships, push forward, Yoon ordered. Establish low Earth orbit. Prepare landing craft. As the fleet approached Earth, Yoon saw it clearly through the viewports, blue and green, just like the historical records, but wrong somehow. Alien. The natural beauty of the planet remained, but it had been reshaped by an intelligence with different aesthetic values, different needs. This was once our home, he whispered, and it will be again. The Reckoning entered Earth orbit alongside 30 other coalition vessels. Below them, Surteri cities glowed with strange light patterns. Defensive weapons fired from the surface, but most were neutralized by the coalition's protective systems. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission," said the communications officer. It's in human language, ancient English. Yoon felt a chill run down his spine. "Put it through." A distorted voice came through the speakers. "Human vessels, this is Planetary Governor Xirith. Your attack is futile. Earth has been Surteri territory for 3,000 years. Your claim is meaningless." Yoon exchanged glances with Commander Ta. The Surteri knew who they were. They remembered. "Prepare my landing craft," Yoon said quietly. "I will be in the first wave." "Captain, that's against protocol," Tai objected. Yoon touched the soil pendant at his neck. "This soil has waited 3,000 years to return home. I won't make it wait any longer." As the landing craft prepared for descent, Yoon recorded a message to be transmitted to all human ships. "Today, humanity returns to Earth. Not as visitors, not as refugees, but as rightful inheritors. Whether our ancestors were born in Asia, Africa, Europe, or the Americas no longer matters. We are all children of Earth, and today we bring Earth's soil back to where it belongs." The landing craft launched, carrying the first humans to touch Earth's surface in 3 millennia. As they descended through the atmosphere, Yoon saw the curve of the horizon, the blue of the oceans, and felt a sense of recognition that transcended his personal experience. They were home. Admiral Kang stood on Earth's surface, feeling strange gravity beneath her feet. 3,000 years after humanity's exile, she had become the first human to return home. The soil felt different than on Memoria, lighter, softer. The sky above was a shade of blue that no simulation had ever captured correctly. Around her, coalition forces secured what had once been the North American continent. Surtari defenses had collapsed more quickly than expected. The enemies they had hated for millennia had surrendered after just 3 weeks of fighting. "Admiral, we've secured the Central Command facility," reported Captain Yoon over the communication system. "You should come immediately. We found something unexpected." Kang made her way through the strange geometric buildings of the Surteri settlement. Their architecture favored sharp angles and dark materials that absorbed light. Everything felt alien, yet the air itself seemed to welcome her. Earth's atmosphere, though modified, still carried the perfect mixture of gases for human lungs. In the command center, human and novel technicians worked to decode Surteri data systems. The walls displayed holographic information in the Surteri language, which coalition linguists had learned over centuries of preparation. "Here," said Yoon, pointing to a secured database terminal. "We've accessed their historical archives. The records go back to before the invasion of Earth." But the victory felt hollow as she studied the Surteri archives recovered from their command center. The images showed the collapse of a distant part of the galaxy, a chain reaction of dying stars that had consumed the original Surteri homeworlds. "You need to see this," she told the coalition leadership who had gathered via holographic projection. The Surteri weren't conquerors by choice. They were refugees, fleeing the collapse of their galactic arm. Earth wasn't their first choice. It was their last hope. The holographic records showed the desperation of a species facing extinction, making terrible choices to survive. The Surtari had spent centuries searching for habitable worlds, finding most already occupied by other intelligent species. "This doesn't excuse what they did," said the Vindari commander, his insectoid mandibles clicking with agitation. "They destroyed dozens of civilizations." "No, it doesn't excuse it," Kang agreed. "But it explains it, and it might change how we proceed." Later that day, Kang walked alone through a preserved Surtari memorial garden. Near what had once been Washington, D.C., the strange alien plants grew in carefully arranged patterns. To her surprise, among the alien plants grew specimens from Earth's original ecosystem, preserved, studied, even revered. An elderly Surtari caretaker approached her cautiously. The alien was smaller than Kang had expected, with dark gray skin and large, compound eyes. Using a translation device, the caretaker began to explain the garden's purpose. "This is our remembrance garden," the Surtari said. "We keep plants from every world we took. Our children learn about the species that came before us." "You remember what you destroyed?" Kang asked, unable to keep the bitterness from her voice. The Surtari's compound eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of distress, according to the Coalition's cultural briefings. "Yes, we remember our shame along with our survival." The caretaker led Kang to a sealed doorway beneath the garden. "You should see this. It has been maintained for future restoration." In a sealed vault beneath the garden, scientists discovered a genetic repository. The DNA of thousands of Earth species, carefully maintained for 3 millennia. Plants, animals, even human DNA, all preserved in perfect stasis. "We always intended to restore what we took," the caretaker explained, "once we found another home. But there was nowhere else to go." For 3 days, Kang struggled with this new information. The Coalition forces had expected to find monsters. Instead, they found survivors who had committed monstrous acts. The line between victim and villain had blurred. Coalition scientists confirmed that the genetic repository was comprehensive. It contained enough material to potentially restore Earth's original ecosystem. Meanwhile, military teams reported similar discoveries across the planet. The Surtari had preserved much of humanity's cultural heritage as well. Art, music, literature, all stored in vast underground archives. On the 4th day, Kang called an emergency meeting of the Coalition Council. Representatives from all 8 species gathered in what had once been the Surtari Planetary Government Chamber. "We came here for vengeance," Kang began. "We prepared for 3,000 years to reclaim what was taken from us. But now we face a choice that our ancestors could not have anticipated." She activated a holographic display showing Earth as it had appeared before the Surtari invasion, then shifted to show Earth as it currently existed, altered but still alive. "The Surtari have offered unconditional surrender," she continued. "They acknowledge their crimes against our species and others. They ask only for mercy for their children, who bear no responsibility for the decisions made millennia ago." The council erupted in debate. Some Coalition members demanded justice through punishment. Others argued for the complete removal of all Surtari from Earth and the other worlds they had taken. When the arguments grew heated, Kang raised her hand for silence. "I visited a place yesterday that changed my perspective," she said. "A simple human structure that somehow survived 3,000 years." The hologram showed an ancient stone monument, weathered but still standing. "This was once called the Lincoln Memorial," Kang explained. "It honored a leader who faced a divided nation and chose reconciliation over continued conflict. His words, preserved by the Surtari, speak to our current situation." She read from an ancient text, "With malice toward none, with charity for all, let us strive to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds." Standing before the Coalition Council, Kang made her recommendation. "We came to avenge destruction with destruction," she said, "but we have the chance to break this cycle. We can restore Earth, not just for humans, but as a shared world." The debate lasted for weeks. While diplomats argued, scientists from both sides began working together. studying how Earth's original ecosystem could coexist with the Certari adaptations. Some sections could be restored to their pre-invasion state. Others would remain as they had been for millennia. Finally, the coalition reached a decision. Earth would become a shared world, primarily for humans returning from Memoria, but with designated regions for Certari communities and for the other coalition species who wished to establish embassies or cultural centers. The Certari homeworld, in turn, would become a sanctuary for displaced species from across the galaxy, a place where diversity was celebrated rather than eliminated. 1 year later, Kang stood with her hand on a small maple sapling, cloned from preserved DNA. As it was planted in Earth soil, around her stood representatives of all coalition species, including rehabilitated Certari. The planting ceremony took place in a newly established park near the ancient ruins of New York City. Thousands watched as Kang carefully placed the tree into the ground. "From Earth we came," she said, reciting the ancient words, "and to Earth we return, not as conquerors, but as gardeners." The tree's leaves caught the sunlight of humanity's original star, the first Earth tree to do so in 3,000 years. As soil covered the roots, Kang removed the pendant containing the ancient Earth soil that her family had preserved since the Exodus. She opened the small container and sprinkled its contents around the sapling, completing a journey that had begun 3 millennia earlier. "Our ancestors dreamed of returning to reclaim what was taken," Kang said to the assembled crowd. "Instead, we returned to build something new, something better." In the years that followed, millions of humans left Memoria to return to Earth. They brought with them 3,000 years of their own evolution and cultural development. They were not the same humans who had left, just as Earth was not the same planet they had left behind. Both had been transformed by time and circumstance. But when the first children were born on the restored Earth, children who would know only this world as home, the cycle of exile was finally broken.